My friends, it's finally here. The project I've been working on for the last 1.5 years, and it's specifically for you. You who you are watching right now, or if you have supported ever in Buy Me a Coffee or even Patreon before that, it's for you, the biggest supporters of Ukraine and the biggest fans of the channel. It's made for you because you donated to each and every one of these missions. 8 missions in Ukraine. 8 times I went to deliver the aid that you made possible. And it's all in this book. Go and get this book to yourself, or go and get it to someone who needs to hear the truth about what's happening in Ukraine. Some people still have their eyes closed. Let's open their eyes together. Links in the description below. My friends, remember last week, Friday, we talked about something called Operation Spiderweb 2.0. Well, turns out this was not the only time that Ukrainians have had fun striking Russian fuel trains. Well, Spiderweb 2.0 was actually striking Russian military vehicle train. They had these grain train carts or grain hoppers. Suddenly drones flew out of them, striking over 100 armored personnel carriers and tanks on that train. But in this specific instance that happened yesterday, Ukrainian drones struck a Russian fuel train, as you can tell by the thick black smoke. This kind of thick black smoke is so regular now in Russia that you can be in any random city, and if you're there long enough, you will see it. Yes, this is Russian military fuel burning. It's a beautiful sight to see. Yeah. But that's not it. I mean, we're gonna look at the compilation of everything that Ukraine hit in the last 2 days in Russia, and it's quite long. This time, they also hit a gunpowder plant in Kazan. The facility is one of the most critical enterprises in Russia's military-industrial complex, producing gunpowder and warheads for artillery missiles, including Kalibr and Iskander-M missiles. And again, as I just mentioned, the thick black smoke, whatever, if it's a fuel train burning or a gunpowder plant in Kazan, if you're in any city in Russia long enough, you will see it. Since soldiers are extremely carelessly smoking in Russia, and things sometimes spontaneously combust, if you know what I mean. This plant, for now at least, is knocked out cold. Wow. There's yet another gunpowder plant. I'm sure you're asking, hey Artur, what do you mean? There's 2 different gunpowder plants in Russia? Yes, my friends, there is. Russia's Katovsky power plant in the Tambov region, 500 kilometers from Ukraine, now likely gone after massive detonations. And in this instance, you don't see the black smoke. I am sorry, you get something better. The fire itself. If you are Russian right now in Tambov region, you don't have to buy your own barbecue cinders. You can just put your meat on the stick and go next to this beautiful little fire here and barbecue your meat if you want to. This is free barbecue provided by the Russian state. Of course, it's spontaneous. Beautiful. Now, this is a Russian gunpowder producing plant. It's a pure military industrial plant, part of the military industrial complex. Striking this kind of plant, oh, I mean, if it's spontaneously combusted, that's what I wanted to say, directly lessens the amount of munitions Russia can produce. It's a very necessary hit. I mean, spontaneous combustion. I always mix those two up. Oh, you can see the flash, the barbecue flash. Look at that. Barbecue flashes all over the place. Damn, I could grill my meat there. Really nice and medium rare. Could make a nice juicy steak over that fire. Look at that. It's flashing like crazy. These are secondary detonations, by the way, because it's a munitions plant or a powder plant. Beautiful. Now something different. Ukraine in recent months has been hunting Russian logistics like crazy, especially in Kursk and Belgorod oblasts. When in this instance, it's the Kursk oblast, and Ukraine struck 2 bridges. About 2 weeks ago, they also struck 2 bridges. These are another type of bridges. Ukrainian aviation destroyed the Zvannoe bridge in the Klushkova district. Look, at this bridge obviously wasn't in such a good condition in the first place. If you can see, what was remained after the strike is these wooden logs. Well, I mean, the condition might not have been that great in the first place. But now it's completely gone. You can consider this as a Kerch Bridge mini version. They are just rehearsing. And now we go to extremely important plant in Russia which mass produces the Shahed drones. Now Russia has been mass producing Shaheds more and more, month by month, year by year, and now they're actually producing an insane amount of Shaheds, massive. Such amounts that they are able, a few days ago, actually 2 days ago, they were able to send an attack to Ukraine consisting of 500 drones and missiles. Well, majority of them were drones, of course, but the point is that their plants are working in 3 shifts, 24/7, and they're producing these Shaheds. Now here we can see Ukrainian drones hunting this Shahed plant, 1,000 kilometers from the border, and it's the Republic of Tatarstan. But in this video, I want to show the drone that flew to that plant, right? But before it landed, Ukrainian air defense tried to shoot it down. We see it in this video. Boom! This is the AD missile. It exploded, but it didn't hurt the drone. The drone is still flying. So this shows you again the capability and the accuracy of Russian AD missiles. They missed. And this drone is happy to go and surprise and delivers presents to the Tatarstan Shahed plant, which you can hear happening here. You cannot see it, but you can hear it. Beautiful sounds. Sounds of freedom. My friends, imagine a world where Russians could be able to carelessly vape without blowing up their nuclear bombers. Well, they don't know it, but we have that ability now, thanks to Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. No vapor, no nicotine, just natural flavor. No batteries, no charging, just pick it up and go. Sleek, portable, built to last, designed with a high-quality build and a sleek aesthetic. Fume feels premium in your hand and is easy to take anywhere, whether you're at work, traveling, or just relaxing at home. Flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Psychology shows that stopping a bad habit of cold turkey is very hard on your brain. Fume works by replacing your hand-to-mouth fixation, calming nervous tensions through fidgeting, and distracting you from your bad habit with delicious flavor. Hey, Russians don't have this tech, but you and me can fume around without spontaneously combusting like Russian nuclear bombers. Wow-wee-wah. Go to tryfume.com/Estonian or scan the QR code and use the code Estonian to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring today's video. Alright, my friends, now a topic that I have not been reporting on because it's a dangerous topic in a way, but it's true, and for the sake of truth I have to talk about it. This is the Ukrainian draft dodgers. Now, Ukraine has a lot of war refugees in the West, right? We're talking millions actually, well over 5 million, up probably like 7 in the European Union alone. And there are a lot of men also, a lot of military-aged men who should be fighting for their country. Now, the first thing that can be weaponized against me if I talk about it, okay, Artur, why are you talking? Why are you not fighting? My friends, I'm part of Estonian reserves. If anything, something, if Russia attacks Estonia, I will be sent to fight. I will not leave my country. I will go and fight, and I will do whatever the Estonian Ministry of Defense orders me to do. I will not leave the country, and I will fight. It's my destiny and my duty. Now I can talk about Ukrainian men in the same light. And here is Kozak Kundi giving us a little opinion. Why I'm quoting him? Because I've spoken to him many times in Kyiv. He was in Russian prison for over a year. He was one of the ones fighting in Mariupol and then taken a prisoner into Russia and then released. And I've met him many times. He's an amazing guy. Unpopular opinion, but why are there so many military-aged Ukrainian men living comfortably in the West, while others their age are out there fighting and dying for the country? A very good question. We called out draft dodgers during Vietnam War and World War II and World War I. Why should this be any different? Not everyone's cut out for the frontline combat, sure, but there are plenty of roles in the rear that keep the war effort alive. And logistics, intel, medicine, drones. Funny how some of them will show back when it's over, waving flags, like they didn't spend the war hiding in cafes, drinking their daily cappuccino. I like my daily cappuccino, but I will be having it in the trenches if necessary. And don't even get me started on the Russian military-aged males in the West calling themselves patriots. Oh, that's even worse, but I'm not going to touch upon that now. I completely agree with Kazan here. I think Ukrainian military-aged men in the West who are dodging the draft, escaping the country, are draft dodgers, and I think they should be fighting for their country. Why can I talk about it? Because Estonia, per GDP, has given the most aid to Ukraine. Our people have given that money and that military and that protection capabilities that we need to Ukraine. So we can talk about this, because when Russia attacks, we will fight, and we are next. The Baltics are next. So we can talk about it, and my opinion, my public opinion is that Ukrainian men have a duty to defend their country, because we are doing that right now to Ukraine, and we will be doing it to us if they attack us. So I do see these men as draft dodgers, and I don't think, I think they should be held accountable. Now, my friends, a little bit of a longer text I have for you, but this one is just to give you perspective. We always look at these videos, oh, sometimes funny Russian vehicle on the front, sometimes Russians taking ground or making this big attack on Ukraine. Let's zoom out, let's look at the macro picture, the geopolitical situation of where Russia stands right now in the world and where they stood in 2021. So much has changed, but we're so zoomed into the Ukrainian conflict that we don't see actually what's happening to the Russian image in the broader scale. And I'll give you this answer right now. This is a must read, especially since it's coming from inside of Russia. This post is by political blogger Igor Dmitriev, is causing a lot of anger among Russian political elites. And now the quote starts, it's his post. From a Russian political blogger, that's the truth. Even the memory of the brief euphoria that accompanied the entry of the CSTO forces into Kazakhstan in January 2022 is gradually fading. And I remember covering that event. Then it seemed that Russia was guarantor of stability, the arbitrator, the center of power. Now there is nothing left of that feeling. Kazakhstan is confidently following its own path, forming its own security strategy. It signed a military cooperation plan with Great Britain, including the training of officers in British military academies. It is building a plant with Singapore partners to produce 155mm ammunition, NATO standard. We're talking about Kazakhstan. It is introducing a territorial reserve system based on Western models. There was even a scandal there recently with the local analog of the territorial center of recruitment. All this is a paradigm where Russia is seen not as an ally but as a potential threat. Azerbaijan has finally liquidated Armenian Artsakh without regard for the CSTO and killed Russian peacekeepers. We're talking, of course, here about the Armenian-Azerbaijani war, both of which are part of the CSTO fighting each other. It would be the same if France and Germany right now would be fighting each other, part of NATO. So that shows us that Russian CSTO, the collective security organization, something like that, the Russian NATO, has totally and absolutely failed. After the downplaying in December 24, it publicly demanded an apology and compensation from Moscow, closed the offices of Russian government agencies. Aliyev plays openly. He is increasing cooperation with Ukraine, supplying humanitarian aid and avoiding even formal neutrality. Armenia, in the past the main ally in the Caucasus, has effectively left the Russian orbit. Pashinyan has repeatedly announced his withdrawal from the CSTO. The country recalled its permanent representative to the organization and closed Russian propaganda channels. Uzbekistan has ignored the CSTO since 2012. And instead of neutral Finland, there is now 1,300 kilometers with NATO. Sweden, which remained neutral even during the Second World War, participates in NATO. We don't give this enough attention as much as it needs. Putin's invasion into Ukraine was supposed to stop NATO from expanding, European Union from expanding. And Finland and Sweden, two of the Nordic countries' most powerful militaries, join NATO like that. The entire North Europe is reorganizing its armed forces for joint exercises in the Arctic and Baltic. All of Europe is turning into a single anti-Russian coalition. Germany is reorienting its production capabilities for military orders. And for the first time, a single European military budget has appeared. The Unified European Military Budget. These are massive things, but they're in a way a bit boring. There are no explosions. I cannot sell them in this video for some people to find it interesting enough. But I want to guide attention that it's not so black and white that Russia is bombarding Kyiv with missiles, the civilian areas. That's the only thing they can do, because everywhere else their so-called empire is falling apart. Their traditional allies in the Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, of course some of them in the Caucasus, they're looking away. With the European Union and with Asia making military contracts, even producing NATO standard artillery. A Russian traditional ally producing NATO artillery calibers in their country. How strange is that? My friends, in Moscow there was a conference, Future Forum 2050, organized by Alexander Dugin, the main fascist idealist of Russia. The modern Russia idea, he's the father of that. He created that neo-fascist Russian idea. So, who took part of it? Alex Jones and Elon Musk, the father of Elon Musk. And Elon Musk was such a simp for the Russians. I mean, I quote him. It's my first time in Russia and I'm amazed. I don't understand why I haven't been here before. The way Russia is portrayed in the West is far from reality. Russia is wonderful, Musk says. It makes me puke. It's horrible. And by the way, here is a Russian interviewer asking Elon Musk, father of Elon Musk,
to raise a genius.
How can you raise a genius talking about Elon?
Reveal the secret.
And Artur is like, you gotta spank him. That's how you make a
If
genius.
serious, what? If seriously, how to raise a genius?
A lot of smacking.
And he has, if I'm serious, you made a joke right now. I'm being serious. How do you raise a genius? And it's still Artur goes back to a lot of smacking. So he confirms that he beat the hell out of Elon when Elon was little. I'll leave it up to you to make up your own mind about that. So I mentioned to you, my friends, yes, Russia used the record amount of drones and missiles to attack Ukrainian targets, talking Kyiv, talking other targets, of course. But this is the biggest number, and the numbers keep going up. Next month it's going to be 600 per night, 700. Soon it will be 1,000 drones and missiles per night. That's all they can do. That's all. They have not been able to stop Kazakhstan from looking to the Western Asia. They have not been able from Armenia for leaving CSTO, but they can bombard Ukrainian innocent civilians. That's all they can do. Everyone already knows that last night an attack was carried out on Rivne and Dubno using 499 aerial threats, including drones and missiles. Ukrainian Air Defense Force neutralized 479 of them, which is absolutely massive and deserving of applaud. See, Russia knows that if they use 500, these massive numbers, they get the Western media to talk about them. And there will be some flashy explosions in civilian areas, and Western media will portray them. I'm here to say we need to put the focus on how many of these aerial threats Ukraine neutralizes. 479, that's absolutely crazy. But the most interesting part is, and I want to share this, what was used to shoot down all 4 of the Kinzhal missiles. Yes, Russia used 4 Kinzhal missiles. It was confirmed that these missiles were intercepted by a Patriot system. But was an entire system really relocated specifically to the Rivne region? And now it gets interesting. Israel comes into play here. At first, I thought our intelligence had received information about an imminent attack on the location and that the Ukraine Defense Forces moved a Patriot battery there. But it seems the situation is even more intriguing. And now I'm not saying this as truth because I've seen conflicting reports about it from Israel and from Ukraine. But a few hours after the news about the Kinjal interceptions, another report emerged stating that Israel had transferred Patriot PAC-3 systems to Ukraine and they're already on Ukrainian soil. Israel always refused to send military aid to Ukraine, and now suddenly a Patriot system. This is massive. Now again, I'll leave it up to you to decide if that's true or not, because Israel and Ukraine both have conflicting reports about that. But if true, that's a massive middle finger to Putin's face by Israelis. On June 10th, so yesterday, there was a good day because Ukrainian prisoners of war, some of them were released back to Ukraine and Ukraine released some of Russian prisoners of war back to Russia. But why I want to tell about this, because of the condition of these men who were released back. I quote, "The conditions were extremely harsh. You can see that the state of our prisoners in the footage, but many are not visible. That's because they were immediately taken away in ambulances and are unable to move on their own," said Andriy Yusov, a representative of Ukraine Defense Intelligence. And we have videos, of course, also about the exchange, and we can see the prisoners here who are in better condition, who can walk and talk, but they're all starved. They all have some kind of broken bones and they're mentally destroyed. Of course, they're super happy to be back on the homeland. But Russia really doesn't, they torture in every sense of the way. Everything you can imagine, they have done the worst stuff. If you haven't seen these videos, I'm not going to show them to you. But this is what these men have gone through. So they now have a very strong reason to fight against that terror. Now, my friends, we jump to Poland to illustrate once more how this Russian threat in 2021, how everyone thought Russia was the second army in the world, the most powerful, this and that. And now I'm going to say it, it's gonna be a fact if it's not already. Poland is and will be the most powerful military on the European soil for the next 50 years. A farewell to Soviet-era weaponry. Poland and South Korea strike the biggest arms deal in history. This is South Korea's most expensive weapons export ever. Seoul and Warsaw are finalizing a massive deal worth nearly $6 billion for 180 K2 tanks. Poland is buying Abrams and K2, so American main battle tank and South Korean main battle tank. They are buying Apaches and choppers from other places. They're buying everything. They're buying K9 self-propelled howitzer from South Korea, and they're buying HIMARS. Everything. They're also buying German. This deal is de facto a farewell to Soviet-era weaponry. Poland is making a full transition to West and Asian systems. It's becoming a NATO armored fortress, starting to assemble advanced tanks and strengthening its sovereignty and influence. So yeah, Poland, part of NATO, part of the EU, and the strongest military in the European Union right now, much more than France and UK. I said it and I think so. And Finland, I would say, would be the next with their massive reserve potential. Thing is, if Russia tries anything in the Baltics, first of all, I will be deployed, I will go and fight. But do you think that Poland and Finland will sit idle? Baltics is extremely important for Poland and Finnish securities. They will be immediately joined in, and those two militaries combined is a massive force that is over the Russian force. My friends, I've been closely looking what's going on in the United States, especially in LA with the riots and everything, and Trump deploying the National Guard into the LA and then deploying an additional 2,000 members of the National Guard. In this video, we can see the military trucks arriving in LA amongst the protesters. Some of them protesters are banging on them with hammers a little bit, but other than that, they're keeping their distance because this is the army. This is not the LAPD. This is the army, and you don't really mess with the army. So I'm not here to comment on this politically because I cannot. I will leave that to the United States citizens. What I can comment politically on how I see Trump because of his actions towards Europe and Ukraine, and that's I see Trump as a clear traitor to the Western democracies and to NATO, but I'm not here to comment on the internal US situation. I'm talking Trump is a traitor for looking from outside the United States. So Trump deployed National Guard to LA to put down these riots. And I saw this interesting video of how LAPD uses mounted police, riot police. It's super cool. It looks very cool, I mean. So yeah, it's strange to see in the 21st century they have riot police horses with their eyes being protected with a glass like that, and it's a strange sight, honestly. But yeah, I said it, I'll say it again. In my eyes, Trump is a traitor to the collective West, is a traitor in NATO, and is a traitor in the European Union. Russia is attacking collective West right now, is striking Kyiv with missiles and the drones with civilian areas, no military targets, and Trump is giving Putin 2 weeks, then 2 weeks, then 2 weeks, just giving time. Trump is a bitch to Putin. I don't like him, and I think he's a weak leader. My friends, with those words, I will end my commentary, but I will show you again 8 times that I go and that I went to Ukraine. So everything I speak here, even with Trump, comes from experiences of 8 times being in Ukraine, looking into the eyes of the soldiers who just came from the front, who just lost a friend, a buddy, who had their mother and father perhaps bombarded in Kyiv. While they were on the front, I talked to people like that, to soldiers like that. I gave them cars, drones, hundreds of drones, medical aid. It's all thanks to you, because you donated. You gave the funds to do that. And it's all in this book, written for you. So please don't let this opportunity to go to waste, and go and get this book for yourself, because I hope you would like it. It is for you, my friends. And for people who need to be educated on Ukraine, go and get it. Until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini. Bye-bye.